Have you ever just stopped and wondered, how does something as insanely complex as our brain even begin? I mean, from basically nothing. Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. We're going to unpack the incredible story of how our central nervous system gets built, right from the original blueprint.
So here's the game plan. We'll start at the very beginning with its origin story. Then we'll get into the actual construction, a process called neurulation. After that, we'll see who moves in, the cells of the CNS. We'll watch it grow and settle into its final spot, and then we'll see why all of this matters in the real world.
All right, first up, where does this all come from? Let's go back to the very beginning, when the first blueprints for the nervous system start to emerge in the early embryo. And when we say the beginning, we mean the beginning. This whole incredible process kicks off in just the third week of embryonic development. Think about that. It's one of the very first major systems to get going. Okay, so the entire nervous system, I'm talking the whole shebang, from your brain to the nerves in your toes, it all comes from just three primary sources. And for our story today, the star of the show, our main character, is the neural tube. This is the big one, because it's the precursor to the brain and the spinal cord.
Okay, now for the main event of the early days, neurulation. Seriously, this part is an architectural marvel. We're going to watch a simple flat sheet of cells literally fold itself into the complex hollow tube that becomes the foundation for everything else.
So what is neurulation? At its core, it's all about folding. It's like this incredible act of cellular origami, right? It takes a flat, two-dimensional sheet and bam, creates a three-dimensional structure. And this one process, it's the foundation for literally everything that comes next.
And it happens in this really elegant four-step dance. First, a little structure called the notochord sends out a signal. Think of it as the foreman yelling, "Go." The layer of cells above it gets the message and thickens up into what we call the neural plate. Then that plate starts to dip inwards, creating a groove. And finally, the edges of that groove lift up, meet in the middle, and fuse together, forming the neural tube.
Here we can see it in action, around day 18. See that little rod-like thing? That's the notochord. It's the director of the show. It's pumping out these chemical signals that basically tell the cells above it, hey, you're going to become the nervous system. And those cells listen. They start to change, and you get that first little dip, the neural groove. This is it, the first physical step in building a brain.
So what happens next is just amazing. The edges of that groove, the neural folds, they rise up and meet in the middle. The zipper analogy is perfect here. It literally zips up from the center, moving outwards. This is the exact moment that a flat sheet becomes a tube. It's a game-changing transformation.
Now, this zippering process is on a super tight schedule. I mean, it's absolutely critical. The front end, or the anterior neuropore, has to close by day 25. The back end, the posterior one, has to be sealed by day 27. If either of these deadlines gets missed, well, that's when you can get severe neurotube defects, like an encephaly.
All right, so the house is built, the neural tube is formed. Now we got to populate it. We're zooming in from the big architectural picture to meet the cells that are going to live and work inside this new structure. Lining the inside of this brand new tube is this powerhouse layer of cells called the neuroepithelium. You can think of these as the master stem cells for the CNS. This is the factory floor where every single neuron and support cell for the brain and spinal cord is going to be produced.
And look at the amazing diversity that comes from this one-cell layer. You've got your neuroblasts, which become the neurons, the signal transmitters. Then you get astrocytes. They're like the support crew, providing structure and cleaning up. Oligodendrocytes are the electricians, laying down all the myelin insulation. And finally, ependymal cells, which line the pipes and help the cerebral spinal fluid flow, all from one source. It's incredible.
Okay, the structure is up, the cells are moving in, now for the finishing touches. This is all about maturation, getting everything wired up correctly and making sure the whole system settles into its final home as the body goes around it. And here's something you might not know, it's pretty fascinating. Early on, the spinal cord actually runs the whole length of the backbone. But here's the twist. The vertebral column grows faster than the spinal cord does. So as a baby grows, the cord gets pulled up, relatively speaking. In an adult, it ends up around the L1, L2 level. And this isn't just trivia. This is exactly why doctors can do a lumbar puncture, a spinal tap, safely below that level. They can get to the spinal fluid without any risk of hitting the cord itself. And then there's myelination. This is the process of insulating all those new nerve wires so signals can travel super fast and efficiently. It actually starts before birth, but at birth, a baby's brain is mostly unmyelinated.
That's not a bug, it's a feature. It's why newborns have those jerky, uncoordinated movements. The fine motor control we have just isn't possible yet. This whole insulation process takes years. Those major pathways for voluntary movement, for example, can take up to 2 years to finish. So when you see a toddler slowly getting more coordinated, you are literally watching myelination happen in real time.
So this whole journey through development is fascinating, right? But it's also incredibly important for understanding what happens when the blueprint goes awry. So let's connect the dots and see why all this matters in a clinical setting.
A perfect and tragic example is multiple sclerosis, or MS. Remember those oligodendrocytes we talked about, the ones that lay down the myelin insulation? Well, MS is a disease where the body's own immune system attacks that very myelin. It's a direct assault on the work of those cells, and without that insulation, nerve signals get slow, scrambled, or just stop. That's what causes the devastating range of symptoms we see in MS. The pathology is tied directly back to this fundamental process.
And when we look at the epidemiology, we start to see clues. It typically shows up between 20 and 40 years old. It hits women about 3 times more often than men. And we know there are certain genetic and environmental risk factors. Understanding these patterns is so important. It helps doctors diagnose it, and it gives researchers a trail to follow to figure out what triggers it and how to stop it.
And that brings us to the big, final question. We've just walked through the step-by-step instruction manual for building our most complex system from the ground up. So looking to the future, the real question is, how can we use this developmental map, this fundamental blueprint, to guide us in creating new therapies? Therapies that could one day repair or even regenerate parts of the central nervous system that we've always been told are impossible to fix.